Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on wherever you are in the world today. I want to talk to you today about German volume training. German volume training is essentially a hypertrophy-focused training modality of typically, but not always, 10 sets of one exercise and 10 reps of that exercise. And it's most popularized, if not invented, by none other than my good friend Charles Poliquin. I'm not going to give you a breakdown of the video, a breakdown of every nook and cranny of 10 sets of 10 in this video. I don't think it's an appropriate way to do it. I think that you should go to Charles's website, strengthsensei.com, and we'll link to it in the video, but we'll link to it in the text below the video, and you can check out what the man himself has to say about the nuts and bolts of 10 by 10 GVT training. I want to give you some tips and tweaks that you don't always read about for German volume training, based on my experience of doing it with myself, with my own training, and my experience of doing it with personal training clients. I love German volume training for hypertrophy, but like every type of training modality, it has its place. If I was doing a standard 10 by 10 for a few weeks, I would follow it always, if hypertrophy was still my main goal, with something much slower. Let's say a 2 exercise per body part, 4 by 6, 4 sets of 6 reps, with probably a more exaggerated eccentric. That might be a typical way I would follow it. I wouldn't follow it with something of equivalent volume. I'd look to mix it up. Now, let's get into my quick tips for how to improve your experience when doing German volume training. The first thing that I want to tell you about is this: keep a record of what you do. Now, whilst I always think it's imperative for serious trainees to keep records of what they do when training, because otherwise how can you assess your progress? Because you're not going to be making, after the first 6 months of training, you're not making leaps and bounds progress every workout. It's percentage points, which is why I think it's really vital for everybody to keep a record, to keep a training diary. But when it comes to GVT training, it's absolutely essential, because if you don't keep a record whilst actually doing the training, so in other words, in the middle of your workout, you are going to lose track of what you've done. I don't care how good your memory is. When you're fatigued and your mind is on the movements that you're working, the muscles that you're working, your performance in the gym, and not remembering, is this set 6 or is this set 7, your mind will start to play tricks with you, fatigue will play tricks with you. And depending on the type of person that you are, you're going to shortchange or overchange. You're at set 7 and you're going to go, oh, ooh, it's set 6. Or you can go, oh, you're on your 7th set of squats, you're feeling sick. Is it the 8th? Is it the 9th? Or it's the 9th? Right? We're all human. Take out potential for weakness. Record your sets as you go on. It's the only way to do it. It is really the only way to do it. A quick tip on what to do for how to record things. Even record the quality of your reps. If you're going for 10 reps and you get 10 choppy reps, right, choppy. 10 perfect, right, perfect. Because ultimately, your diary is not a competitive tool. It's you getting feedback on your body and remembering that feedback, so that the next time you can go, okay, I got 10 perfect reps out, I'm going to increase the weight by 3%, or I got 10 choppy reps out, I'm actually going to stick till I get perfect reps. Next GVT trick: use a clock whilst training. Using a clock whilst training for lots of training methodologies is quite useful, because it helps basically your mind to stay on track. You're going fast, your mind stays on track because you're beating the clock. You're going slowly, your mind stays on track because you know you've got the clock to keep you real, to stop your thoughts, even your body, from meandering all over the place. I find GVT pretty damn boring. I am the dopamine type of trainer who likes to smash it up in the gym. GVT, you have to go at a pace. You have to pace yourself. You're not trying to blast it out in the 3rd or the 4th sets. You're not looking for failure. We'll get to that point in a second. So, Having a clock keeps it real. It stops you rushing through your early sets, and it stops you extending your rest unnecessarily later on when you really do want to rest. GVT is quite unusual. It's a different type of fatigue, especially if you do heavy GVT with lower reps, not necessarily 10 by 10, but 10 by 6 or 10 by 5. You get this bone aching weariness. So you need the clock, the timer, to keep you on target. Otherwise, what should be this goes to this and goes to this and goes to this, and that changes the training effect, and that's not what you want. Next point, don't train to failure early in the sets. GVT is all about the law of repeated effort, so you're basically doing it one thing, you're doing it again and again and again and again, and that's forcing a positive adaptive response to help your body lay down new muscle tissue. It's not necessarily all about stretching, squeezing, tearing muscle fibers. So if you train to failure too early during the 10 sets, if you go to failure at set 3, you've overdone it. You're going to overtax the nervous system. What you're going to do, you're going to train to failure for 7 sets of one exercise. That's overkill. So you should be looking for failure no earlier than set 7. And you know what? If you don't hit failure at all for 10 sets, it's not the end of the world. But you do want the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th sets to be very, very hard. If you're not ripping your spleen, come set 8, come set 9, you've gone too light. So let's just say you've done 5 or 6 sets and it's really feeling like, and you know your body well, you're going to be getting to, you've got 4 sets to go, you're not going to hit failure with the next 4 sets, and you know it. Increase the weight. Don't be frightened to increase the weight, and don't be frightened to decrease the weight as you progress, because you know that none of us are ever going to get it spot on like that, right? So again, be fluid. I would have no problem with somebody, you do 3 or 4 sets, it just feels too easy, you up the weight a little bit, or conversely do it the other way. If you're advanced, another good tip, if you're advanced, the issue with 10 by 10 is your starting weight is a 15, 16, 17 rep weight. It's too light. It's too light for you as a well-trained trainee to really stimulate enough of a hypertrophy response. So, the more advanced you are, the less 10 by 10 is relevant, and the more 10 by 6, 10 by 8, 10 by 5, whatever it is. And obviously, you can tweak your goal. You could do a 10 by 4, but that's going to be less about hypertrophy and more about muscle building. You're probably going towards the functional hypertrophy stage. You are going to build muscle though. Make no bones about it. Do 10 sets of exercise, and you're going to start building muscle. Especially again if you are doing something like a 4-second eccentric. I like to progress somebody with, say, a 10 by 7, and then what I would do at the next workout is go 10 by 7, then 10 by 6, and then 10 by 5, and I'm increasing the weight every time, not every set, every workout. So 100 kilos 10 by 7, the next workout I might do 105 kilos for 10 by 6. I find that works very well, and you get beastly strong doing something like that as well as adding muscle, which is always a nice positive side effect. A lot of people with GVT, this is another tip, a lot of people with GVT, they tend to stick to one exercise. So bench press, 10 sets of 10, I'm going to do a 6-week GVT cycle, I'm going to do 10 sets of bench, and 5-6 days later I'm going to do 10 sets of bench, 5-6 days later I'm going to do 10 sets of bench, and you know what? Over time you're going to get repetitive strain injury. It's 10 sets of any one movement done for multiple repetitions. You are flirting with repetitive strain. What I found works quite well is to pick 2 similar bang for your buck exercises. So let's just say bench press is your exercise of choice for chest. You might alternate it with, it could be a flat dumbbell press or an incline press. And you would go back and forth. But what I mean by going back and forth, I don't mean by doing 1 set of bench, 1 set of flat dumbbell press. That's certainly not the law of repeated effort. That's a different type of training methodology. What I would do is 10 sets of bench press, and then at my next chest workout as part of my GVT protocol, I would do 10 sets of flat dumbbell press, and then I would go back to the bench press, always looking at my training notes that I've kept, that I've methodically kept and recorded to see what I'm going to do with my weight, where I'm going to tweak my weight. Am I going to do 10 sets of 10 bench, then 10 sets of 9 flat dumbbell press, and then 10 sets of 8 with more weight than I did when I did my 10 sets of 10. So I'm going to go back to bench for 10 sets of 8 with more weight. That I find is an extremely good way of doing it as well. My final point when it comes to GVT is a point that can apply to every, it should apply, sadly it doesn't, to every training program that you write, that you design, that you prepare for yourself. And that is, you need to choose the exercises wisely on a German volume training protocol. I learned that to my detriment once when I thought, right, I'm doing 10 sets of 10, I'm doing opposing muscle groups, I was doing hamstrings and quads. Now you can't in a normal gym, I was training in a commercial gym, you can't in a commercial gym hog a squat rack and the leg curl for an hour. You can't do it, can you? So I thought, okay, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to do dumbbell squats and dumbbell RDLs. 10 sets of 10. Well, those of you who are experienced will know what happened. Dumbbell squats, they tend to pull you forward a little bit. RDLs, obviously, you're going to pull forward. And after about set 6, my erectors, my lower back, my hips were fried because I'd chosen the wrong exercises. You can't pair those two exercises together for 20 sets. You will, even if you're not going so heavy, you will die, right? Your back will go. Just as you can't do GVT on unilateral exercises. It's not, you can, but it's not the way I would do it. If you're doing 10 sets each leg, Bulgarian split squats paired with a leg curl, 30 sets, you're going to be knackered. By the end of it, it becomes an athletic feat, not something the way you're supposed to be training your muscles and your mind is focused on exercising and working the muscle, which is after all what we're about. This is not about an athletic event. It's about stimulating muscles. So choose exercises wisely and choose bang for your buck. Don't do 10 sets of leg extensions. That will do fuck all, right? But maybe you've got a bit of a weakness when it comes to your back squat. You can do 3 sets, but 10 sets, your lower back's going to go. Okay, get rid of the ego, get rid of the thing, get rid of the dogma that says, I've got to do a squat. Do a hack squat, do a machine squat. Be sensible. You might think a leg press is a good option for GVT, and actually in my experience, a lot of leg presses are not. You get compression of the discs at the bottom of the movement, people are lifting the butts up off the pad, and actually a lot of people will start to get lower back pain by at the 5th or 6th set of on a GVT protocol of doing leg press. So be sensible and think about the exercises, and think about the exercises that suit your structural weaknesses, your injuries, your anatomy, all that sort of stuff. So those are my tips. This video has run on much longer than I wanted it to. Those are my tips on German volume training. Now, as ever, please ask questions below. I'm in the process of putting together something brand new that we've never revealed, that's going to be a way to work with me for your training, at a reasonable cost. It's going to basically open up my training programs and my training ideas and my training philosophies to everybody at, certainly a very, 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 very affordable price for everybody. We're going to utilize technology because obviously it's not something I can do. I can't work with people one-to-one anymore. If this is the sort of thing that's interested you, if my training ideas speak to you, just make sure that you subscribe. Subscribe to probably the best, easiest thing to do. We'll give you a subscribe link below the text here to subscribe to our newsletters. But just subscribe to this YouTube channel, and then you'll get to sort of see my training philosophy, how I construct training programs. Because really, what I'm trying to do is give as many people as possible the opportunity to use focused training programs that I've written that I agree with, because I have some quite set principles when it comes to what I think is effective training. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Questions below. Thank you.